on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Richie. We got Matt O'Leary in the house. The Jets Roundtable is back. It's been a long break between the last Jets Roundtable episode, which I don't even know when it was, Matt, during the draft season. We had a long break, but now here we go. Jets Roundtable is back once a week with myself, Matt O'Leary. We'll have Jake Asman and Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 as well coming in when they can make it. Matt, excited to have you on. Want to give a big shout out to BetUS Sportsbook for powering today's show and all of the shows across Roundtable Network, including Matt O'Leary's show. So, Matt, welcome to the show, man. Excited to have you back on the Jets Roundtable.
Yeah, I am excited to be back as well. I think, now I could be wrong, but I think the last time we were together here, we were doing mock drafts, trying to fix the New York Jets each week.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we had Braylon Allen going in our mocks. We had Jordan Travis going in our mocks. We were pretty on point. I mean, Matt, I think this year's mock drafts was the most accurate I've ever been. Maybe not in the first round, more in the middle rounds. But listen, I'm excited to get into this because we have a lot to discuss with these New York Jets. And also, don't worry, Dolphins, Patriots, and Bills fans. We'll talk all things AFC East. What the Jets Roundtable is, it's not a show just talking about the Jets. It's covering the entire AFC East division from a Jets fan perspective. So we're going to get Matt's thoughts of the latest news of all three teams. There's a lot of things to get into beyond the New York Jets. Matthew Judon getting traded from the New England Patriots to the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Milano out with a significant torn bicep. Devastating news for Bills Mafia. And then Jaden Daniels tearing up the Dolphins at joint practice today. And, of course, we'll get into the Jets joint practice with the Panthers. So, folks, don't forget to hit the like button on your way into the show. And also, make sure you subscribe to Matt O'Leary's YouTube channel. That's down below in the description. And hit that sub button here on the AFC East Roundtable. We're inching close to 15,000 subscribers, and we appreciate each and every single one of you guys tuning in. We got a new member of the AFC East Roundtable, Sean. Let's go, Sean. He joined the Jets Media YouTube membership this morning, and now he's part of the AFC East Roundtable membership. Everybody in the chat, give my boy Sean some dono love in the chat right now. Smash the thumbs up button. Let's get straight into business. So, Matt, I just want to, before we get deeper into the AFC East, I just want to get your overall thoughts of these New York Jets. Like, where's your head at with the excitement level? Because you rewind to last year, the hype was through the moon. We had Hard Knocks. First time having Aaron Rodgers, of course, so we're all still a little starstruck at that point. Where would you say your mind's at today, comparison to where it was a year ago, hypothetically when we were facing the Panthers in joint practice, right? Because it was a different mindset. We still have Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of things, a lot of hype amongst this Jets fan base. Did something happen last year where it kind of pivoted your mind, your expectations for this year because of what happened with the injuries with Aaron Rodgers and the rest of the team? Where's your head at heading into the season as a Jets fan?
I think I'm a little bit more optimistic than I was last year, actually. And that's almost surprising in a way because I think when the initial trade of Aaron Rodgers happened, obviously there was a ton of excitement. I was right there with everyone, really excited. And training camp last year, there were really good vibes because we had all the highlights of Rodgers ripping it around the field to Garrett Wilson. But this year, I think the Jets' offensive line is so much better than where it was a year ago, because that was always kind of hanging in the back of our minds. And by like this point last year, I don't know if Mekhi Becton was running with the ones yet. It took him a long time to get up to the number ones and to move from the left side to the right side. Dwayne Brown practiced what felt like 3 times last year before the start of the regular season. So I know Tyron Smith doesn't practice every day, which isn't a crazy surprise, but now you have a first-round pick, Olu Fashanu, who's playing both left and right tackle right now, and playing really well, waiting in the wings. And you bring in John Simpson, who seems like an upgrade over Laken Tomlinson, and AVT's back healthy. And you have a young Joe Tippmann, who's kind of getting his snapping situation figured out. And I think that, to me, is I'm much more comfortable with the Jets' state of the offensive line. So overall, I think I'm just more excited for this year than I was a year ago.
Yeah, if you remember, Matt, I was at practice last year against the Panthers, and the biggest concern last year was the offensive line. It was like, ooh, Rodgers, yeah, he's a Jet, but he was moving like he was just, the pressure was going all over Aaron Rodgers, and that was the big question mark. Remember, Robert Saleh called out the offensive line on Hard Knocks. We saw that little sneak peek. But I think the biggest difference this year, I agree, is that offensive line. Like, not only do we have 5 guys that we're excited about, but we have guys coming in off the bench potentially that we're really excited about in Olu. So not only the pass protection from the offensive line, but the best thing is the run game I think the run game this year is going to be ridiculous. The Jets offensive line still has some hiccups in the pass protection so far early in training camp and preseason and joint practices, but the run game has been consistently dominating, moving defenders. When I was at the Jets Commanders joint practice last week, it was unbelievable to watch those 5 starters, Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses out at tackle, with, of course, the starting interior moving the Commanders. So what's your expectation from the Jets from a run game perspective? Because I think the Jets have a chance here with the two-headed monster, the Big Bs, or whatever they call them, and then Isaiah Davis, the other rookie. They had got really young, fun talent at the running back position mixed in with the revamped offensive line.
Yeah, that they 100% do. You look at what Breece Hall is expected to do this year. I have incredibly, incredibly high expectations for Breece Hall. You know, another year removed from injury, an improved offensive line, improved quarterback play, I think is also going to be a major part of that as well, which is a sneaky underrated story. Is, you know, Breece Hall's had all this success early on in his career with, you know, some of the worst quarterback play and defenses stacking the boxes against him. That's not going to happen as much with Aaron Rodgers, but then you throw in a legit compliment back as well. Like, they didn't have that last year. You know, Michael Carter, they end up moving on from. They brought in Dalvin Cook, who unfortunately was very underwhelming. And, you know, Izzy Abanikanda as a rookie didn't get on the field much. And they go and draft 2 new running backs. So that kind of tells you how they feel about Izzy Abanikanda right now anyway. But Braylon Allen, from what we've seen in practice in the preseason, I thought has stood out as a major positive. And Isaiah Davis is kind of that same mold as a power back here in the offense.
Yeah, and I have my expectations for Breece Hall is like, I don't know if it's too high or something, but I think he has a chance to take over this league. And the biggest reason for that, Matt, is not only his ability to run the football, but Aaron Rodgers is going to throw him the ball a lot. I mean, we saw that touchdown he caught over CJ Mosley in practice the other day. Mossed CJ, went up there like a freaking wide receiver 1. You know, that running backs don't do that. So Breece is about to get utilized all over the place. Braylon Allen is a great story to watch, mixed in with the rookie Davis, and not to mention the revamped offensive line. And when it comes to Garrett Wilson, I think we can both agree that our expectations for Garrett Wilson is absolutely through the moon. I mean, another day of practice against another team, another dominant day from Garrett Wilson's perspective. It wasn't perfect. The offense started off a little slow, but then at the end of the practice, the Jets offense really started to get cooking. We saw Aaron Rodgers throw a touchdown to Garrett Wilson. We saw him have a 30-yard reception down the field. What's your expectation from Garrett Wilson this year? Because seeing what he did with bad quarterbacks his first 2 years and knowing what Aaron Rodgers is capable of with a guy like Devontae Adams, my expectations for Garrett Wilson is absolutely through the moon. Top 5 wide receiver numbers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we could see it this year, honestly. I mean, he put up back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with Zach Wilson and Trevor Siemian and Tim Boyle, and, you know, go right down the line of quarterbacks who've played for this team over the last couple of years. Even if, God forbid, the worst happens and they have to go to a backup this year, at least it's Tyrod Taylor, who's had experience starting in this league and is someone who I think is one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. So quarterback play is going to be vastly improved. I think him and Rodgers' connection was shown in training camp and even the preseason last year. I mean, essentially the one drive they had in the preseason last year against the Giants ended in a touchdown to Garrett Wilson. And the thought was, oh, we're going to see this, 8, 9, 10 times plus, maybe even that year. And I think this year is when we finally get to see it. I think he's going to be a target hog in this offense. And I'm really excited for what he does with Rodgers at the helm.
And the talent that he has is just like, I can't wait for it to be on full display, baby. The young Jets on offense is finally going to get an opportunity to shine. Now, in other news, beyond the New York Jets, we had some unfortunate news for the Bills fans. Dan Mitchell's live right now talking about it. Sorry, Dan. Condolences. But hey, man, Milano, done. Dunzo. Now, listen, this is not a good thing. I'd rather the Bills be at full strength and us be able to dethrone them. I mean, I still got the Jets winning the division, Matt, but that's another conversation for later. What's your thoughts of Matt Milano going down? Because if I remember correctly, he did get injured last year, but the Bills still figured out a way to come out with like 6 or 5 straight victories at the end of the season, and their defense was a big reason for it. Matt Milano is the heart and soul. I would say he's their CJ Mosley of their defense. How much of a blow is this to the Bills defensively?
It's huge. I think when healthy, Matt Milano is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And I think you said it perfectly about him being the heart and soul of the defense. especially after losing some vets this offseason on that side of the ball. I think it's going to be a big loss for them. Now, that's not to say that they can't overcome it. We saw them do it last year. Milano only played 5 games, but there's a lot of turnover, or there has been a lot of turnover on that side of the ball for Buffalo, going from 2023 to 24. So I think it is going to have a really big impact on them, and there's no sugarcoating it, man. Like that stinks whenever you lose a player who is going to be a really big part of your defense. Maybe he could come back in December. That's what kind of feels like the optimism right now, that maybe his season's not fully done, but he could come back at some point. But still, even if that's 14 games without one of your best players, that's a really tough pill to swallow.
It really is. And I feel for Bills fans. The last thing you want is a star player to go down before the season even begins. So thoughts goes out to Bills Mafia. Hopefully you guys can redo it, because, man, the Bills, in my opinion, Matt, they didn't do anything in the offseason that scares me. The Bills' mindset is this. It's subtraction. It's like addition by subtraction, really. Like, they don't feel like they got worse. They just don't feel like they got better. They feel like they're the same, and they think that's good enough to win the division, just like they did last year. So, like, what's your expectations from the Buffalo Bills? Playmakers, you got Keon Coleman, you got Curtis Samuel over there. They have high expectations for Shakir in the slot. Dalton Kincaid making a stride as a tight end in his second year. James Cook is an underrated running back. And, of course, the polarizing Josh Allen at quarterback. As a Jets fan, what's your expectations for the Buffalo Bills this upcoming season?
So to me, when you have Josh Allen as your quarterback, I think you're always going to be in the mix because of just, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But I do think roster wise on paper, they got a little bit worse from a year ago. Now, like, as I just said, you have Josh Allen. So of course you're going to be in the mix. I think they're still a playoff team, but I don't think they're a lock for the division. I think the gap is a lot closer between the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills now. And I really do think it's going to be a 3-team race here. And there's honestly probably a pretty strong possibility that there are 3 teams from the AFC East in the playoffs come January here. So I think they're still a playoff team, but I don't know if they're a division winner this year.
Who is?
So I am going to pick the Jets. And now I want to try to, because I could already see, I'm not looking, but I could see the comments come flooding in. Of course, the Jet guy picks the Jets. But a year ago, I didn't pick the Jets to win the division. I had them as a wild card team. So I don't want this to think like, oh, this is coming from a place of bias. I truly believe the Jets have the best.
So biased, Matt.
I know. It's really bad. They're going to go 16-1 too. How's that for?
Oh, I love it. Well, folks, continue.
No, I was going to say it's. I do think the Jets win the division, but again, I have Miami and Buffalo right there in the race too.
Couldn't agree more. Matt O'Leary's bias is so biased, dude. I'm just kidding. I'm more biased than anybody. Listen, folks, Jake Asman is part of this Jets Roundtable, but there's a reason why he couldn't make it today. You want to know why, Matt? In chat, he told us. This is why. He came in last place in fantasy last year, and this was the punishment? Oh, my God. He has to go to a Mets game. By the way, he's a Yankees fan. Wearing a Superman Patriots uniform saying, I suck at fantasy football. What an awful punishment. This is one of the worst punishments you can think of.
That's tough for our guy, Jake. Huge fan of Jake Asman, obviously. Can't wait to give him the business next week when he comes back on the show. But yeah, would not want to be in Jake's shoes right now. That's pretty tough.
Poor Jake. Dude. He's got a smile on his face, so he's happy. He's a happy person right now. So that's the funniest part about it. Shout out to Jake. Excited to get you back on the show next week. Is Richard growing the beard? No, it's not intentional. Just haven't been able to trim it down, Dane. You reminded me though. I gotta trim it. I gotta trim it down. Now let's get into some other news around the AFC East. Matthew Judon is no longer in our division, and I'd love to get your thoughts about that. Him going to the Atlanta Falcons. You can say the only thing that the Patriots had going for them was Matthew Judon, and now he's gone. He's gone. He is now a member of the Atlanta Falcons. What's your thoughts of this move from the Patriots' perspective? And what's your expectations from the Patriots? Like, do you think they're really going to be like, because I went on BetUS, Matt, they are projected to be the worst team in football this year. Ooh, how good does that feel? What's your expectations for the Patriots this season?
I was gonna say, I didn't before this move, I didn't think they were gonna be very good this year. And them trading away Matthew Judon, I don't think really changes anything for them. Like they're gonna win. I don't know if they're gonna be the worst team in the league, but I think maybe they win like 4 games this year. And they were gonna do that with or without Matthew Judon. So getting some sort of draft capital for a guy that's not gonna be here when you're trying to make your resurgence anyway. Like obviously they have a rookie quarterback, so their hope is that on the rookie quarterback window they'll be able to maybe not this year, but a couple years down the line be in contention. But I don't think Judon's going to be a part of that. So from their roster building perspective, I get it, and it's going to be a rough year for Pats fans, man. I don't really feel bad for them.
I was about to say, they can handle it.
Yeah, they've had it pretty good. They could use a little. One of my best friends is a Patriots fan, and I've been telling him he could finally use a little adversity in his sports fandom life for the first time ever. So I think it's going to be okay. They could handle it, but yeah, they're going to be fourth in the division and probably picking top 3 again.
Oh, boo-hoo. The Patriots are in the basement and will suck this year, something that Jets fans are unfortunately very comfortable with and know very, very well. But the good thing is that's in the past for us Jets fans, and we're looking for something special this year, a championship-level run. Now let's get into the Miami Dolphins. Listen, the Dolphins are a very interesting team to me. In the offseason, they didn't really make any moves that sparks fear in anybody, in my opinion. The only thing about the Dolphins that scares anybody is Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's still, a weapon that you have to change your entire game plan for. They have an electrifying offense. Tua got paid long term. Jaden Daniels went into joint practice in Miami and torched them in the red zone period, something that he did not do against the Jets, by the way, last week. But in all seriousness, Matt, your thoughts of the Miami Dolphins this year and how they stack up against our New York Jets?
Yeah, well, I mean, the last couple of years, their speed seems to be a little bit of a problem against the Jets. And also, I mean, the Jets didn't have Rodgers last year in either of those games. So I seem to remember the Jets weren't allowed to claim a win against Skylar Thompson. So I don't know if the Dolphins fans could claim a win against Tim Boyle. And was it Zach Wilson or did Boyle start both games against? I don't know. It was ugly. It was either Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian.
Zach Wilson played the one in Miami where he fumbled and.
Yeah, that's right. So not pretty, obviously, but Miami, they are in a very explosive offense, and they're going to be a pain to deal with. Now, the story with Miami over the last couple of years is they've made the playoffs, but they've gotten cold. Fittingly, when the weather starts to get colder, they usually tend to fade a little bit, and especially when they're out there in the elements. So they still have something to prove, but again, that's a good offense. They're explosive. They're going to be in the mix, I think, as well for a playoff spot, but they still have some questions to answer as well come playoff time.
How do you feel like the Dolphins are defensively? They lost Fangio as their defensive coordinator. They got a new DC in the building. They brought in Fuller at corner to replace X. They brought in Marcus May at safety. They got 2 aging safeties in him and Jordan Poyer with their stud safety, Javon Holland. Like, is there anything on their defense that, Chop Robinson was an interesting draft pick. He looked really good in his first preseason game. Phillips is coming off an injury. You got, who's their other premier pass rush? Bradley Chubb was coming off an injury. So what do you think about their defensive ability this year?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that their edge room is pretty deep. I think they have a good edge room, but I think obviously what they lost on the interior is going to be tough to replace this year for them. So I think it's a solid defense. I wouldn't say they're in an elite tier, but I think they'll be, solid enough. But yeah, you bring up a good point with, some of the names that they replaced and getting older at safety. Like, I don't know if Marcus May is the answer. I saw he was getting torched a little bit in practice today against Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, so TD had the Dolphins winning 9 games earlier in the offseason, and then they went out and signed Marcus May and Calais Campbell, and he upped it to like 12 games. I'm like, Marcus May and Calais Campbell moved the needle for you that much? Like, really? I mean, listen, Calais Campbell's still a beast. I'm not saying he's not, but Marcus May is a shell of himself, and he's a depth player. I mean, he peaked on the Jets. Let's be honest. When he went to New Orleans, he was not the same player anymore.
Yeah.
So I agree. I don't really see anything on the Dolphins defense. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is still Jalen Ramsey. He's going to make some plays, but I'm excited to see the matchup against the Jets late in the season. I mean, it feels like we always verse the Dolphins now late in the season, never early on. So we shall see. Now, let's talk about the one thing that's in the road of us in the New York Jets with Hassan Reddick. Oh, look who's in the chat looking up. Y'all haters may picked off Daniels today. Super Bowl, baby. Yeah, right. Yeah, Marcus May. He's gonna change the whole dynamic of your defense, TD. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. But in all seriousness, let's get into the Hassan Reddick situation, Matt. Of preferably not talk about it, but we got to talk about it. What's going on? Like, what's your perception of it? Is Joe Douglas in the wrong for making the move initially? He offered them a contract. Hassan Reddick said no. They still traded for him. I mean, like, do you think there's a resolution? Do you think that Hassan Reddick will be a Jet this year? We heard CJ Mosley talk to the media today, and I thought what his response was just exactly you want to hear from a captain. So what's your thought process of this whole Hassan Reddick situation, and do you see it being resolved, or do you see the Jets and Hassan Reddick never coming to an agreement and Reddick just never playing a snap?
I think he does play at some point. I just at age 30, I don't think he can hold out for an entire season. I don't think it makes any sense. We saw Le'Veon Bell do it, and that really derailed his career. And he was a lot younger. And again, I just don't think it makes sense at this point. Even if Reddick doesn't think he's being valued, which you can make an argument for. I think both sides are at fault here. I think some fans are giving Joe Douglas a little bit too much of a pass. I think it was a good pivot to go and get Hassan Reddick after you lost Bryce Huff. But the reason why Hassan Reddick was available for a 3rd-round pick in a draft 2 years from now was because everyone knew that he needed a new contract. So I think he's been a little bit stubborn on that front and might need to adjust a little bit. I'm not saying you give him a 4-year deal, $100 million, and sink your teeth in that way, but I think if you could rework the guarantees for this year and maybe tack on another year in 2025, align with this Aaron Rodgers window, and go from there, I'm good with it. The other argument that I really don't get is you have some fans who are like, they'll be fine without Hassan Reddick. They don't need him. He's just a luxury. I don't agree with that. I think the Jets do really in this defense, in order for them to be elite, they need a star pass rusher. Bryce Huff was that for them last year. He had 10 plus sacks, and Reddick puts up 10 sacks in his sleep. He's done it every year the last 4 years. So I think it's risky if you're going into the year with like Michael Clemens as your other starter across from Jermaine Johnson.
And what do you think about, Will McDonald, I thought was going to benefit the most from this Hassan Reddick trade because he gets to not sit, but he gets to watch Hassan Reddick, who we all want him to become, right? Like that premier, lanky pass rusher. And now if Reddick doesn't play, Will McDonald is going to be asked to be that primary pass rusher. Now, Clemens is slotted in as a starter, but that's just the John Franklin Myers role of like first down, defensive end, trying to stop the run. But on pass rush situations, it's going to be McDonald out there with Jermaine. Like, Will McDonald has showed a lot of flash. People are questioning his ability to not add weight, but the spin move is lethal. Obviously, he has to clean up the rough in the passer penalty he had in the preseason. But what's your how do you look at this Jets defensive line? Because I agree with you saying we're like, oh, we don't need Reddick. I think we do need him. But what do you think this Jets defensive line will look like without him, hypothetically? Do you think we have enough on this defensive line and the defense in general to survive this season and be AFC East champions without Hassan Reddick, hypothetically?
I think the defense would be still good, but I don't think it's an elite defense without Reddick. And you bring up Will McDonald, and he's so intriguing to me. I think right now, I don't think he's an every down player yet. I don't think we've seen it on early downs, especially against the run. There were times he got pushed around in the Washington preseason game. But what we did see against Washington was that spin move that he put on display. He got to the quarterback and was actually hit with the roughing the passer call, which was a debatable one, but still, like, I thought it was a good pass rush rep. And on 3rd downs, I think he's going to come in and be a situational pass rusher. And we can get into the debates on whether or not that's enough from a 1st-round top 15 pick, but I think that's his role on this team. I don't think he's ready for anything more than that. And, they're hoping that Michael Clemens could be John Franklin Myers, replacement in a way, but I think if they're expecting to get JFM production out of Michael Clemens, I think they're going to be, be sorely mistaken with that, unfortunately, because JFM over the last 4 years has been a 50 pressure guy every single year. I know Clemens' playing time was way down in comparison, but he had like 8 pressures last year. That's not his game. He's more against the run. Um, and I just don't think the defense works exactly the same without, because there's no JFM, there's no Huff, and no Reddick. All of those guys factored in. I don't think that's as good of a unit as it was a year ago.
I am the same thing we talked about with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall's leap. I'm expecting the same thing, Matt, from Jermaine Johnson.
Hmm.
I mean, Jermaine showed up last year in year 2, and he proved why I lost my mind when we drafted him, why you lost your mind when we drafted him, because let's not forget, us Jets fans, we all wanted Jermaine Johnson. Some people even argued getting him at number 4. That's how many people loved Jermaine. We ended up trading up for him and getting him at 26, I believe. I mean, his rookie season was, I guess you could say, disappointing. Year 2, he changed his number to 11, and he became the player we all knew that he could become. He had that ridiculous pick 6 against Joe Flacco and the Browns in a game that didn't matter, but at the same time, it showed his ability to make plays. Like, I think Jermaine Johnson has an ability to, like, prove to be one of the best players on the Jets defense, and that's saying a lot. I think he is going to take over the league this season, not only getting to the quarterback, but dominating against the run. I think that, I watched the Origins that featured Jermaine, and there's just like something about his mentality and his mindset that really tells me like this is the year for him. Like he's not satisfied. He's never satisfied. He's hungry for more, and he's ready to go crazy. What's your thoughts about Jermaine Johnson this year being like an every down defensive end for the Jets defense this season?
Yeah, I think he's going to be, very good. And what did he finish last year with 7.5 sacks, I believe, 7 or 7.5. I think he comes close. I think he comes. That's what I was doing too. I was pulling that up, but I think he comes close. Yeah, 7.5 according to Pro Football Reference. I think he comes close to 10 this year, maybe just under. But he's such a valuable guy against the run too. Like especially without John Franklin Myers, I think instantly Jermaine Johnson becomes your best all around edge player. Like Will McDonald and Hassan Reddick, I think, are better pure pass rushers, but looking at the all around player at that position, I think Jermaine is a more well rounded guy, and I think we see him just play at a really high level again. We saw him go from year 1 to year 2, a big step forward. There's no reason, in my opinion, that he can't do it again and have another productive year in the league.
Could not agree more, man. Jermaine is becoming a household name here. And the big reason why I think the Jets are not comfortable of paying Hassan Reddick long-term is because they're going to have to pay Jermaine long-term one day. They're going to have to pay Sauce, Garrett, Breece, all these boys. They can't pay them all. So that's another reason why the Hassan Reddick situation is at where it's at today. Now, I did want to get your thoughts and the chat's thoughts about BetUS's lines because they have a lot of interesting bets on their website. Guys, if you want to check out BetUS, link is at the top of the description, also pinned at the top of the comments section. To sign up today, you get a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. The official sportsbook sponsor of Roundtable Sports, the #1 online sportsbook, the sportsbook that we all use in this upcoming season. Bet responsibly, folks. Aaron Rodgers, 26.5 passing touchdowns. Matt, over or under?
Oh, I would take the over on that.
Boom!
I think 26.5. If he plays 17 games, he should clear that. I think he has a good chance to clear 30 this year. Is there a line on that, Richie?
There is. Yes, there is.
Look at
now
that.
I gotta find it. There is a line there. Now I gotta find it.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but
no, I think here it is. NFL season stat leaders. No, is that? Oh, this is cool. Sack leaders. We got sack leaders, regular season touchdowns. I don't think it's here, but I saw a prop bet that I will find where it's like touchdown quarterbacks that will throw 30+ touchdowns.
Yeah,
and Rodgers was on there.
I would love to see what Aaron Rodgers' number is because I think he's right around there. Now, if maybe you're too chicken to go with the 30+ number, if you want to go the 26.5, I think he does that. The 30+ would be the value play there. But I'm in on it, and I think he has a good year.
Me too. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers, the only thing that's going to hold him back is himself with injury, and I think he's going to stay healthy. So that's really where I'm looking at it. So I think here it is. NFL specials. CeeDee Lamb, no. We had it. We had it on last night's show, but now we can't.
It was there
find
at one point.
It was there, and I will find it eventually. But let's see. Jets at Niners, first scoring play type.
Oh, now this is okay.
First score method, touchdown, field goal, safety. I like it. The Jets getting the safety to start off the season. We're the safety kings.
Why not? Why not touchdown? You got to lay a little bit money, right? It's -175.
So it's an away touchdown for
Plus,
the Jets to score a touchdown to start it off is at +275.
Why
the
not?
Jets to get a field goal is at +350.
Greg the leg. I mean, he could hit from maybe like 70 yards out, so that might be the better move.
I like that. The Jets are starting off Monday Night Football with a Greg the Leg special. Okay, this is why BetUS is my favorite sports book to use because you don't get bets like this anywhere else. So shout out to BetUS Sportsbook for being the proud sportsbook sponsor of the AFC East Roundtable. So we got right here Aaron Rodgers over 26.5 passing touchdowns. Put $25 on there. And then we got the away field goal, which is the Jets scoring field goal first. We'll put 25 on there. We'll place those bets, and we'll see how it does. So I'll keep you guys up to date if that does cash in.
It's hitting.
It is hitting. Shout out to BetUS and shout out to Michael Vick.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
All right. Folks, we got 123 live watchers. Don't forget to smash the like button. And I want to open this up to a Jets Q&A or AFC East Q&A, if that will, or an NFL Q&A. Any questions you guys may have about the New York Jets or the NFL, or hey, maybe you want to talk about the Mets. I don't really care. Send us in any questions in the chat right now. Or if you want to send in a super chat to cut the line, that is always welcome. We appreciate you guys. Zachary says, can we talk about the Gibson breakout? So apparently he returned one for a touchdown. Gibson had an unfortunate injury early on in camp. He's getting healthy, Matt, which is very good. Do you think there's a world where Xavier Gibson has a big role in this offense in the slot? Like, Gibson's on the field with the starters. The Jets have him as the primary starting slot receiver right now, in my opinion, over Corley. Corley's still trying to work his way in. What's your expectation from Xavier Gibson entering year number 2?
So I think his biggest impact will come on special teams with the new kickoff rule and as the punt returner. But I do think early on in the season, he will be the Jets' leading slot receiver. I do think, though, they will work Malachi Corley in more as the season goes on. The Jets usually tend to bring on their wide receivers or just rookies in general on the slower side. But I think he will have an impact. And he's shifty, man. It just seems like he always seems to get open. He finds the soft spot of the zones and just gets open. And Rodgers isn't afraid to check it down. So I think that would be the recipe for success there.
Yeah, he just need to get that little soft spot in the zone, get open over the middle of the field, and Rodgers will get that ball out fast and early and often. I think he's going to have a pretty good season this year. Primetime, what do we say about all these idiots talking about Reddick? My friends are cooking me about this guy. Matt, what would your advice be to Primetime with a bunch of his friends hounding him about Hassan Reddick?
I would say that they're not going to trade him. So he is going to get on the field eventually. And when he does and starts racking up sacks, you go, this is why the Jets brought him in. And this is why we deal with the off the field contract dispute.
I love it. Cap for life. Richie will give you third and a player to be named later for Reddick, bro. Let's do brunch. You accept that deal?
No, God, no. Absolutely not. And to send him in division too, please no.
Nah, have fun with your injury-prone and rookie edge rushers, Cap, for life. We appreciate you. What do you think about Sauce 7+ picks? So actually, I asked Sauce Gardner when I was at practice last week about how many picks that he wants this year. He's like, man, I need 5 at least. And I'm like, one of them for 6, though. He's like, oh, yeah, we need to get in the end zone. So seems like Sauce is aiming for 5. Last year, he had 0. How many do you think Sauce can get this year if he actually gets targeted and can catch the ball when it's thrown his way?
Yeah, that's the thing. 7 feels like a lot just because I don't know if he's going to get the targets for it. Maybe, I don't know, 4 is jumping out to me. But that's double his career total already. So, like, that's a big improvement from where he would be. So, I'm going to say he gets 4 interceptions this year.
I'd take 4. That's career high. I mean, I still am thinking about that Dallas Cowboys pick 6 he missed. I think we would have won the game. Not won, but we would have been a better chance. The momentum was on our side. And then after that drop, all hell broke loose. And then the Dak Prescott Cowboys and Zach Wilson was trash. And then it was all she wrote. So Sauce definitely is elite. But what's going to take his game to another level is ripping the ball out of the air. And that's what Robert Saleh said is challenging him. Are you guys worried how the Jets looked against the Panthers in practice? So no, number one. Number two, Matt, what's your thoughts of what happened at practice today based off all the reporters that was there? Biggest takeaways? Are you concerned?
I'm not concerned. I wouldn't say it was a good day. I think the offense was streaky. It was a little rock. Like it started out rough. They got a little bit better. For me, too many interceptions, and one of them was off of Alan Lazard's hands and right to a defender, which is just so frustrating. I don't know what to make of Lazard, man. He makes an insane catch at practice on Tuesday over Sauce Gardner, and then 2 days later, a ball on an easy 5-yard slant goes off his hands and is picked off. Like you just can't make it up. So I really don't know what to expect from him this year. But you know, that's practice sometimes. There's so many of these training camp practices before the start of the regular season. We'll see what happens in the game. Last year, the Jets went down to Carolina and I thought had a really bad joint practice, and then they beat the crap out of them in the actual game itself. So we'll see what carries over to Saturday for this one, but I wouldn't say I'm overly concerned about it.
Me neither. Zachary, can we talk about the full 180 on the running back backup room being so much better than last year? It is true. And the coolest thing about this, Matt, that I love is its draft picks.
Yeah.
Like the way that you build a running back room is through the draft, not by free agency. And obviously last year we were either like looking at Izzy as a rookie to be the primary backup, and then we eventually brought in Dalvin Cook like midway through training camp, which eventually was a complete disaster. What's your thoughts of the running back position now and how it looks depth-wise? Because we got a lot of fun talent all from the NFL draft.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this running back room. And not only does it look different like there's a lot of draft picks in here, but stylistically, this was a team that was more of a West Coast zone, outside zone style rushing attack. They're going to be more of a power running team this year, especially with Braylon and the Isaiah Davis. I don't know why I was blanking on his name. Isaiah Davis as the two main backups for Breece. But if they just continue to block like they have, those guys might be averaging like 5 yards a carry, and we might be looking at 2009 level Jets offense where they're just going to run the crap out of the football.
LaSalle, would you rather have Braylon Allen or Devon Achane? Well, there are two different backs completely. Achane is small and fast. Allen is a big brute and physical. I think Braylon Allen complements Breece Hall perfectly. I don't think Achane would complement Breece as well. Nothing to take away from Achane. I think he's a phenomenal talent, and he needs to stay healthy, and he's going to have a pretty good season for Miami. But Braylon Allen is like, he puts fear in opponents when you see that guy running at you in the second level. Like, you don't want to tackle him. He's also 20 years old, the youngest player in the NFL.
Yeah, they're both, I think you said it perfect. They're very, very different from each other. I think Achane's perfect for what Miami tries to do on off. Like, they are just an explosive and speed team, and I think that works really, really well for them. Like, I don't think Braylon Allen would have the same impact on the Miami Dolphins that Achane does. And I don't think Achane would have the same impact on the Jets that Braylon Allen does, just because, again, like I said, they changed their rushing scheme a little bit from more of that West Coast style to a power running style. So I think each one of those guys are better suited in the place that they are. I don't think a swap would benefit either one of them, actually.
My favorite thing, too, is when I tweeted the videos of Braylon Allen's 2 highlight runs in the preseason, that tweet went a little viral, and not even amongst Jets Twitter. I saw so many Cowboys fans crying that they didn't draft him. So many other fan bases quote tweeting it like, how do the Jets have Braylon Allen when they also have Breece Hall? That's unfair. I'm like, wow, this is cool to see people say that we're spoiled. They're like, oh, poor Braylon Allen has to sit behind Breece. He could be a bell cow somewhere else. I'm like, damn, we did the damn thing. There's fan bases upset, Matt.
There is. I've seen a lot of Cowboys fans very, very upset. A few that I know that they passed on Braylon Allen.
And I'm a good Cowboy. I can see that.
Yeah, it would have worked. I mean, he's better than Ezekiel Elliott at this point in Zeke's career. Like, no disrespect to him. He was an awesome running back for a really, really long time, but not the same guy. I think those people are right. I think he could be a bell cow somewhere else, but he's going to be a really nice 1-2 punch with Brees Hall. I can't wait. Think about a second half in a game where the Jets have a lead for the first time. They haven't had leads in games in years, and they could wear opposing defenses out, switching back and forth, running with Brees Hall and Braylon Allen.
Do you think Braylon Allen is someone to target in fantasy this year, like in the later rounds? Like, do you think he's going to get that many looks to like in the red zone? He can get some touchdowns. Like, obviously, he's a running back too. And when you're in the later in fantasy drafts, you're not going to get a number one running back. Do you think Braylon Allen is someone that you should target in fantasy?
I think it might be worthwhile to target him. I'm talking like late, like obviously a little bit further on. But if you're in a 12-team league, I think there's value there, especially because of his size. I think he might steal some touchdowns from Brees Hall down by the goal line. So he might
Yeah.
not have like a crazy high rushing yards total this year, but he might steal some goal line touches. So I don't
In
think
one of
it's a
my
bad
keeper
thought.
leagues, I'm keeping Brees. I took him in the 4th round last year,
Smart.
and I'm keeping him. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. Should I draft Braylon Allen the handcuff? Should I have them both? What do you think?
Not a bad thought, honestly. I would highly think about that. I don't think many people are gonna look at Braylon Allen in fantasy this year. So like I always usually do a jet sleeper. Last year, no, this is before Aaron Rodgers got hurt, but I drafted late Tyler Conklin. I was like, I think Tyler Conklin's gonna be a sleeper tight end this year. And then Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and he had 0 touchdowns. And long story short, he was not still on my roster at year end, but um
You draft him again this year? He's hitting one-handers.
I might, man. I'm not gonna sell my Tyler Conklin stock.
And Ruckert stock. He's got to get that concussion back in order and get on the field because this could be his breakout year. Golden Fan says, when do you think Garrett's going to reach his prime? I think this year is the first taste of what a Garrett Wilson prime looks like.
Yeah, me too. What we've seen from him his first 2 years, considering the quarterbacks that he's played with, is honestly it's impressive, man. And if Rodgers can stay healthy, even if it's just like 15 games of Rodgers, what they're going to do together is going to be special.
Zachary says, so Corley is going to be really fun this year and being put in the running back role in practice too. He is a fun player. Yeah. What was your biggest takeaways from the preseason from like the youth? I mean, we saw Olu at left tackle look polished. Malachi had a heads up play, back-to-back receptions. We saw Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. I mean, what was your biggest takeaways from that preseason game, and what do you want to see upcoming this week?
Yeah, so that Corley catch on who was it, Zach Kuntz, that was in the process of dropping the ball, and then he just comes up and scoops it up off the ground. He's going to be a fun player is a good way to describe him. I don't know if he's going to rank crazy high in like receiving targets at the end of the year, but I think they could use him in a lot of creative ways. The practice I was at on Tuesday, he was hit in the red zone on a 2-point conversion, which was a nice play to kind of just see him get open. But you can line him up in the backfield, give him the ball on an end around. Just he's a playmaker. Whenever the ball is in his hand, something good happens. So I think he's going to get maybe 3 or 4 touches a game.
Yeah, I think that he has that. Him and Braylon Allen kind of feels like they're the same type of player in different positions, just physicality and kind of just like that intensity where like defenders are scared to bring you down because they're not shy of contact. They're not going to go out of bounds. They're going to instead lower their shoulder and go right through you. And I think that's going to just like formulate a new identity here with this Jets offense that we're trying to formulate because there is no identity. There isn't. Zachary keeps coming in with the questions. What do you think of Jamien Sherwood this year being the replacement of Mosley? I mean, all the practices I've been at, Jamien Sherwood has sparkled every single time, man. He has really impressed me. He's fast. It looks like everything's processing quickly. And I think that is the Jets' goal. They want Jamien Sherwood to be the replacement of CJ Mosley whenever CJ decides to hang the cleats up. I mean, in a perfect world, CJ just stays young and stays on this Jets team for as long as possible because I just love everything about CJ. But eventually he's going to, Father Time's going to catch up. What's your thoughts of Jamien Sherwood this year as the third linebacker? Because I think the Jets would be smart to get him on the field a lot this year because he's been looking really, really good. And I also think, to add on to Sherwood real quick, he is a former safety, remember, when we drafted him.
That's what I was going to say.
He's the best coverage linebacker on this team. I mean, he is locking things down in zone coverage over the middle. He can get a bunch of pass deflections in zone and maybe even interceptions this year if the Jets give him looks.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go with my answer, Richie, because as you said, converted safety. So he has a high ceiling in coverage, and his speed sideline to sideline, I think, is really impressive. And it was tough for him. He was a safety, pretty much his whole life. And then at the next level, he has to go and convert to linebacker. That's a tough ask. And he's had a couple of nice moments. I thought last year was probably the times that he shined the most, but I think he will get on the field more this year, and it makes you feel good about the depth behind CJ Mosley. What we saw Quincy Williams do last year, taking a massive step in his game. And he's a young ascending player. And, Mosley at this point, he's up there in age. We don't know how much longer he's going to last. So having the guy waiting in the wings is a very, very positive thing for this team.
Yeah, and like you said, the transition from safety to linebacker isn't easy. We saw Hamza Nasruddin. Remember, he was the one we were excited about when we draft.
I was going to say, I think I was more excited about Hamza Nasruddin, and hand up wrong about it. I mean, Jamien Sherwood looks like the better player so far.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Jamie, and it just proves that it's not easy to make that transition, and he's doing just that. What's your thoughts? I saw a question. Where'd it go? Something about. Here it is. Thoughts on QB3 Martinez. He's technically QB4. Peasley is ahead of him on the depth chart. What was your thoughts of not only Martinez, but both Peasley and Martinez look pretty good in preseason? Of course, there's always going to be that quarterback that Jets fans fall in love with in the preseason. It was Chris Streveler. Now it's Martinez. This is a guy who won the UFL MVP. He won a championship. Do the Jets have something special in him, or are we just completely drunk and anything positive at the quarterback position we get too giddy about?
Probably a little both, right? I don't think Martinez has a shot for the roster. I think maybe he sticks on the practice squad, and good for him, man. He put up a fun performance. I will say I like that he uses his legs. Like, he's not afraid to tuck it and just, scamper off for 7 yards, get out of bounds. He didn't put his body in harm's way. Like, when he rushed, he either got down or got out of bounds and, made things happen. He's a little bit of a playmaker, but it doesn't hurt to keep guys like that around. And who knows, maybe he could develop into a backup quarterback. Anything more than that we're talking really, really small odds. But, I just want to see him stack good performances. That's all you could ask here. He's going to play a lot this week. I'm sure we'll see him in the second half against the Giants as well. So go out there and show it again.
Do you want any starters, including Aaron Rodgers, playing in the preseason against the Giants?
Oof. I'm very down the middle on that. Like, I can be convinced on being on either side on that one. I don't think we see any starters in the Giants preseason game, just based off what Aaron Rodgers' comments were. And then at that point, like, if Rodgers isn't going to play in that game, it almost feels like, what's the point of putting everyone else out there if it's not really the full look? So I'm going to say we probably won't see the starters on either side, but how do you feel? Do you have a strong feeling one way or the other on it?
I'll be honest, man. I'm a nervous wreck. Don't
Okay.
play anybody.
Fair.
Like, I'm just like, I was even scared last year during the Giants game beforehand. I'm like, we're putting Rodgers on the field? Why? And then he went out there through the touchdown to Garrett Wilson. I lost my mind, and that's all she wrote about Rodgers. So, like, I'm definitely can admit I'm a little more panicky. So I'm like, just if there's going to be kinks early on, let it get out in regular season snaps. Like, I just can't stomach an injury to any of these starters in the preseason. But you look across the NFL, everyone's doing it. But then you look at what the Chiefs had. Pretty sure Hollywood Brown got hurt in the preseason. So, like, it's just a risk. It really is. Like, I don't want to see Garrett Wilson out there. I don't think he's going to benefit from going out there. He's still going to dominate whether he plays in the preseason or not. I don't want to see a single starter on defense. I mean, I'm just such a nervous wreck and traumatized, Matt. And I think I need to, like, do something about it.
I get it. I really do. There's no denying it. It's we're cursed as Jet fans. We've been through a lot.
The curse has been lifted.
I hope so. I really hope this year the curse has been
Please.
lifted, but we've been maybe scorn's the better word. We've been
Please.
way too many times have we seen bad things happen to this team. So I think it's natural to have those fears.
It is natural, and I can admit that I'm a little nervous wreck. Barney, here's my take. Put Rodgers out versus Giants. Why? Better to know now if the line can't protect him, right? I mean, if they don't protect him well, they're not going to do anything about it. It's still going to be the same offensive line. But the cool thing about Rodgers that people need to remember, that no matter how good or bad the offensive line is that he is one of the best quarterbacks at getting rid of the ball fast.
True.
So, like, now the only thing that's negative you can say about Aaron is his athleticism isn't what it used to be. So we can't expect him to like extend plays like a Mahomes or something. But what he will do is throw the ball out of bounds or get rid of the ball fast rather than take a sack or turn the ball over. Now, and then you look at, the play that he got hurt on last year, he kind of like had he seemed like he was trying to go for the big shot over the middle instead of Garrett Wilson wide open, which resulted to the injury. But I don't even know why I'm talking about that because I'm scared. I don't want Smith out there. Olu, sure.
That's fair.
In the preseason he's talking about?
I would think so. Yeah.
I was about to say, I'm like, well, Smith, we want him to play in the regular season.
Yeah, but Olu, I think Dano's right that Olu needs the reps. So resting a guy like Tyron Smith to get Olu on the field, I'm good with.
Like, how amazing would it be to have a fully healthy offensive line all season? And say, okay, Tyron needs a day off. His ankle's a little sore. Okay, Olu plays this game. Like, and then Smith is back. Like, bro, this Jets offensive line, Matt, has potential to be really good in the run game in particular if they can just stay healthy.
Yeah, the health is going to be the big thing. But this year, unlike last year, they have someone in Olu that I feel pretty comfortable with if he has to come in and play on either side. They've been working him at right tackle this week, finally. And I think that's a huge thing for this team because Morgan Moses was hurt last year and missed 3 games. So, and had offseason surgery and is 33. So the chances of both Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith playing 17 games is pretty slim. You're probably going to see Olu play like 7 to 10 games this year. And I'd feel more than comfortable when he comes in.
And if there's one person we got to stay healthy the most, it's Elijah Vera Tucker. Like, let's see AVT play at right guard all year. This is a big year for him. They picked up his 5th-year option. He's coming off a rookie season of really good football and then back-to-back season-ending injuries. Like, this is Elijah Vera Tucker's season, man, and we all love him, and we want him here on this offensive line forever. So we shall see. Mike wants me to keep the beard. I mean, I'm going to trim it. I mean, I've had a beard for a year now. So it's not going to, I guess you mean keep it long? I don't know. We'll see.
I like bearded. I'm team bearded Richie. Now,
Yeah.
I'm on board with the trim. I don't like when my scruff gets a little too long. I don't grow it
a little too much right now.
I don't grow it as well as you do. You got the Italian genes have much better facial hair than the Irish, I think. But anyway, yeah, team beard.
Yeah, I mean, the beard started last year, and I haven't gone back. So last football season, I had a beard throughout this whole year. I haven't had a baby face in over a year. So early on, Richie and YouTube, it was baby face. When we drafted Sauce, got the baby face. That's all she wrote. When I had Matt O'Leary on my show breaking down the Jets offensive line back in 2019, my first ever collab, that was a baby face. And it's a baby face for you too.
I was going to say that's a long time ago now.
That was when I first started. Offensive line breakdown. You remember that offensive line?
Do I remember the offensive line? I remember doing the video with you, obviously. So 2019, that's pre Mekhi Becton, right? Oh God. What was that line?
I think it was his rookie year. Or no.
Because he was 2020.
Now I gotta check. George Fant.
Fant, okay. Yeah.
I think it was Mekhi and Fant as the tackles with Greg Van Roten, McGovern, and who was crap. Who was the right guard? I'm picking. Didn't he have to like step away mid-season or something like Alex Lewis? Alex Lewis. He was the left guard. Yeah. I'm looking this up. I don't even know if it's going to come up. Jets media, Matt O'Leary, offensive line.
That's so funny. That's so long ago now, though. But I remember that collab.
Position, offensive line. That was the first ever collab. Come on, YouTube algorithm. Oh, wow.
Was
We have
that-
this one, though, 2 years ago.
Oh, what's that?
Zach Wilson talk.
Oh no, I don't want to know what I said about Zach Wilson at the time.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious. I love looking back at old videos. That's babyface. Come on. You got to show up. Maybe it just suppressed the algorithm where, like, they're like, nah, we're not even going to acknowledge this. But, yeah, Matt and I collabed on the offensive line breakdown so long ago. And it's not coming up. But
That's unfortunate.
I'll find it. But, hey, man, it's a good time to see where the Jets' offensive line now. Osemele.
Oh, I found it.
You found it. What's the exact?
Yeah, I'm gonna
title?
send you the link in the chat here.
Yeah, send me it. How'd you find it?
I went back on your page and sorted by oldest.
Oh, look at that. Genius.
And we found it.
All right, here it is. The Sam Darnold.
Oh God. Look at us. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
If you guys have not checked out Matt O'Leary's channel, he posts all Jets YouTube content.
Nice job, Richie. Come on. All right, so it's Mekhi Becton.
That's awesome.
It was Mekhi, Alex Lewis. Look at this editing.
Oh, Greg Van Roten. Look, that's gorgeous.
Look at that. I put them all on the screen at the same time.
For joy, even for that. We're rooting for average.
Who's this?
Side does sound scary to me.
Oh, what was his name? Oh, Chuck Clark. Is that Chuck Clark?
No, who? I don't know who that is though.
Love
I
that.
don't.
So
No
hopefully
idea.
he can develop behind Becton, and that's scary, that interior position. That so he has the traits, and like you said, I think he's going to eventually slide into that interior.
Do as a young quarterback.
Oh yeah, and Jets fans would take an average offensive line over what we had last year. So we're jumping for joy even for that. We're rooting for average, as sad as that is.
Spoiler:
So,
they were not
going
average.
into the depth side of things, so we're going to talk about the backup left tackle, who's going to be rookie Cameron Clark.
Cameron Clark, not Chuck Clark.
Oh, Cameron Clark. Okay, I
Look at
forgot about
this.
him.
Oh my God, the depth. Brian Winters. Wait, that's not Brian Winters. Is it?
I think so. He was on that team.
I guess so. Look at this. The young Bucks coming out here. That's not Richie. That's cousin Vinny. Babyface Richie. Hey, man, this is where it all started. 4 years ago. Let's go. Over 100 likes. Shout out to Matt for coming on this show.
Starting off with left tackle, Mekhi Becton.
Wow. Wild stuff.
That's unreal.
That is crazy stuff right there. Josh Andrews. But we had to turn back the clock and see the old version of the Matt O'Leary show and the Jets media show talking about an offensive line. That's awesome. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like the show if you did not already. We appreciate you guys big time for tuning in. The Jets Roundtable will be back next week. We're going to try to find a slot once a week, but I think we're going to do Wednesday at 1 for now. But if something else comes up, it's hard to get us all on the same page because we're all busy creators. Matt, want to let the people know what to expect from you? I know you got a show at an hour on Talking Jets. Why don't you let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, so on Matt O'Leary NY, that channel, and Talking Jets, I do stuff Thursday at 3 o'clock. I stream with Jets Chaos. We'll be breaking down the Hassan Reddick situation some more. Also, I have recorded my training camp recap video of the day, so I'm going to try to edit and post that in the next 45 minutes or so and get that out.
Grinding.
Too. Yeah, we are. Thursday's become a busy day, so we're out doing the thing.
Matt O'Leary, YouTube channel in the description. Go check him out, folks, and subscribe to Matt. Jets Roundtable is back, baby. Let's freaking go, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you guys want to check out the NFC East Roundtable, will be live tonight at 6:15 EST. The final division show of the week. Week number 2 of Roundtable Sports Network is going to be in the books after tonight. We appreciate you guys for supporting all that we're doing here on this new network. Appreciate you guys big time. Big time shout out to BetUS for powering today's show. Thank you to BetUS. Link in the description to sign up, folks. We'll see you next time. And check out the huddle at 3 o'clock as well to hear me yell at TD. Peace.